Hi, everyone. Welcome back to AI for Founders. I'm Ryan Estes, and today's episode is about to flip your entire hiring mindset upside down. My guest is Katie Clark Fortunato, the powerhouse co-founder of JobStream. She's not just building software, she's rethinking the whole idea of talent pipelines. You know all those job applicants your company ghosted? Katie says they're not dead ends. They're your greatest untapped asset. In this episode, we talk about using AI to re-engage rejected candidates, convert them into new hires, and even turn them into revenue streams. That's right, revenue, from people you didn't hire. She breaks down how the JobStream engine, a modular tech stack that puts AI behind the scenes and the human experience front and center. It's smart, it's actionable, and it just might save your employer brand from a dumpster fire. Let's get into it, but first, some business. This episode for AI for Founders is brought to you by Kitcaster, the podcast agency for entrepreneurs. If you're a founder, you already know building your brand is a full-time job. But let me ask you, are you getting in front of the right people, the right investors, the clients, the talent? That's where Kitcaster comes in. We book visionary founders like you on podcasts that actually move the needle. Thought leadership, audience growth, SEO, deal flow, it all starts with conversations. And we handle everything, the research, the outreach, the scheduling. You just show up and talk. Over 800 founders have already trusted Kitcaster to get their voice out there. You built something incredible, now go talk about it. Visit kitcaster.com to apply. Now back to the show. That's Kitcaster by Moburst. Okay, everyone loves to talk about vision, the pitch, the funding round, but you know what gets zero love? The actual product build. That magical, terrifying phase where nothing works, the docs are out of date, and you've asked your dev team, how's it going, for the 47th time today on Slack. That's where Code Story comes in. It's a podcast for startup founders who know that building the thing is the thing. Hosted by Noah Labhart, Code Story goes deep with tech leaders who've been through it, shipping real products, surviving messy launches, and figuring out what actually works and when you're on the edge of chaos. If you're building now or ever plan to, you'll want these stories in your earballs. Search Code Story wherever you get your podcasts or visit codestory.co because founders talk vision, but builders tell code stories. All right. Katie, thank you so much for joining me. I know you want me to call you Smiley, but I'm just uncomfortable with it.
I'm very uncomfortable with it. And I hope my college friends don't say this.
I love that. Why did they call you Smiley? I'm assuming because you smile a lot.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know you were going to ask me that. Wait, so the real reason is there was a boy. He owns a really successful cybersecurity company now. And he told his roommate that I made him smile. And then they all called me that forever. They still do.
Is he the one that got away or what?
I'm sorry?
Is he the one that got away?
No. Not at all. I met my husband on Bumble.
Nice. Incredible. So we met through Hampton, and I don't have the affiliate link. I'm not giving a shout out to Hampton or encouraging anyone to go, although it's been great for me. But what's your experience been like on Hampton?
So I'm a new member, 2 months in. I would say kind of like any other subscription, you kind of get out of it what you put in. I've tried to make a concentrated effort to at least once a week check in, see who's in my DMs, but see what is the chatter. My go-to channel is the AI talk, and obviously being in the AI world, I'm looking for the nerdiest of nerds vibe coding out and building the coolest things together. So that's what I'm looking for. I've also met a few really great people like yourself.
Well, thanks, Katie. And it is really cool to connect with people on there. And shout out to Pete Sina and Dave Sifry. They're always crushing in that AI channel. You know, one thing I think that it really stressed to me was like the need for that kind of like connection with peers is huge. And I know they're kind of moving to like an in-person model. So I'm not sure what they're doing in Denver, but I just been start going to a bunch of different events and it's been so cool, you know? I mean, I find myself being the guy at the bar that just talks to the first person I find for the whole night. So if I'm just there in a capacity, it's like, hey, how can I help you? What are you working on? It's so fun to be curious about what people are up to.
It is, and just looking at other professional communities is, there's the kind of legacy YPO. It's, I feel like, a little bit more rigorous when you're looking and evaluating these kinds of communities, and the Slack nature of Hampton just kind of fits into my everyday.
Totally agree. Amazing. So I want to talk about your company, or at least use your company as context to kind of get to know you a little bit. So I know you've got kind of a legacy company, and you're also splintering off and going in some like really new, innovative directions. So tell us a little bit about the business.
Yes, so the business that I'm working on right now is called JobStream. It's an AI matching technology, and it's a new category. Imagine if, I think we've all been here, but we apply to a job, we get rejected, and we get that little, "we regret to inform you" subject line, and then that's it. Imagine if there was, "we regret to inform you, and here's 3 more jobs from our network that we think you would be a perfect fit for." And that just created this amazing brand engagement that went from such a negative black hole experience into something really positive and powerful. So what JobStream is doing is connecting contacts from your applicant tracking system, your CRM, any job seeker candidate, and connecting them with over 5 million live jobs from employers who are actively looking for candidates to fill roles.
It's incredible. And, if anybody's kind of dealt with the hiring process right now, it's a bear. What your options, you put it on LinkedIn, you get 2,000 applications overnight, or Indeed, or any of the kind of major job boards. It's really hard, and you go through the process, you whittle it down from 2,000 to one person. It can be kind of exhausting. And one thing I know that we've talked about is that it's tough when you have 3 or 4 people that you really, 3 candidates, you're like, God, they're all great. It's just kind of a gut check, and you go with a person. Like, what do you do with those other people? And this is a perfect opportunity to give them these resources. Is that kind of the spirit of the thing?
Yeah, the spirit of it is, and take also maybe like a legacy brand. They've built up a few years worth of contacts, and on average, every job gets about 400 applications. And the recruiters are really only looking at the first 20 that come in, and they're spending 20 seconds just screening it if they're not using AI, which they should. But what happens to the 98% of people who are not even getting seen? And I read something on Forbes that it's only 3% of candidates ever even receive a note back, like an email saying, "we regret to inform you." So the etiquette, the experience, it has really changed, and in a bad way. So JobStream is kind of that, it creates new value within the ecosystem of what your hiring process and talent process already is.
You bet. So there's financial incentive for brands to use it as well. Is that right? Is that basically the business model?
So the business model is you are really capitalizing on ROI, whereas you spend, let's take a company who has a recruitment marketing budget. They are paying on LinkedIn and Indeed to publish their job, casting a wide net, trying to get as many applicants as possible. And they only care about the one person who gets the role. So they've spent all this money up front, and then ask a business, "what do you do with the people who get rejected?" Well, nothing. And I had this chat with a client a few days ago. It's like, well, then after the jobs close, what happens to that list and that data? Well, nothing. It just sits there. So this becomes your way to tap back into the database that you've already invested in and built, and re-engage those people. Take your dormant list, and you know that they came to you looking for a job. Why not offer them another job? To your point about monetization, there is ROI that happens there. On the other hand, this is a new category as well that's called affiliate. And very much like the creator affiliate market, it's referring jobs from other paying advertisers. So that creates a income, a revenue stream that the company never knew they had. And consider at a high volume, as we're seeing, these real people who are looking for real jobs, they are motivated to find something. And you're not only helping them, but you're getting that data on them and what they're looking for so that you can go back and re-engage with them at the right place at the right time, because like they're going to be clicking, what they're looking for, what kind of companies they want to work for. And now you have that perfect role, AI match.
So cool. It's so cool. It's like it's the marketplace that was right under your nose the whole time, because you have large supply side and then the demand is very small, but then there's this whole other opportunity. So let me walk through it. I'm interviewing for a job. I interview Sally. I really like her, but I'm not going to hire her. So I send kind of a polite letter saying, hey, it's not going to work for this time, but we think you'd be great candidates for this, and this position if you want to check that out. So because if Sally goes through hire or goes through this one link, ends up getting hired, then is there a commission on my side? And then also, is that where JobStream gets paid?
So, right, you can make your commission in two ways. One is on the click, so very traditional cost per click type of advertising. The second is on the apply. And take a very hard to fill role like nursing, for example. Some of those payouts are $100 just to get somebody to apply. And if they complete the process, they have a credentials, like we don't really know what happens on the hiring decision side. But that is how motivated employers are, that they would pay $100 to have you apply.
That's real money. It's incredible. And it's such a smart idea. How'd you come up with this?
So our parent company is called Hire Innovations, and our core business is Recruitix. And Recruitix was started about 13 years ago from kind of an early day Indeed engineer and with our company. And we started programmatic advertising for jobs and kind of looking at the trends in what was happening with traditional ad tech and MarTech. It just wasn't happening for jobs. And, if I might rag on our AI world for a minute, AI hasn't quite figured it out this time either. And so, we're hoping to keep disrupting in that category as well. But the programmatic company is currently working with over 200 Fortune 500 companies on their talent strategy. And they're managing their marketing spend. They're doing smart targeting to try to get the right candidates through the door. And I got into this because I'm a second generation part of what is a family business. And this was also not my career up until 2 years ago, but I felt really just so aligned with the mission and where I was at the time and felt like I had the chops. So applied for a role. I actually started Telivity, which is another startup under the umbrella. And Telivity is a B2B marketplace. It has thousands of software and technologies for hiring. And what you can see right now is this technology is just changing so quickly. The tools are getting so much more sophisticated. There's a lot of bundling in the industry. And navigating that is really hard. And Telivity brings clarity to how do I build my talent tech stack? How do I optimize? How do I save money on the hiring process? And how do I retain my people?
Yeah. So cool. So who all from your family do you work with?
Well, we have a CEO. His name is Adam Stafford. We are not related. I work with our board, and the board is comprised of a few family members. And weirdly, I report to my father.
How does that go?
It's all right. I mean, when we're at home, we're father-daughter. When we're at work, we are real business partners. And I just feel so fortunate to be in this position. But honestly, it's a great working relationship. And
Sure.
the board and he are very open to kind of the next generation and ways of thinking. And I think if I brought anything to our organization, I worked at some big companies, bringing rigorous process and methodology and a plan for optimization and continued improvement is really helping us stay connected in this weird AI world of like, how do we keep innovating with a very digital, like savvy, new next generation coming in.
Yeah.
So I feel it poised to help lead that type of transformation across the companies.
That's so cool. My daughter's heading off to study business in the fall as a freshman at Mizzou. And it would be an absolute dream if she came out of that and came work with me. What are some ways I could absolutely blow that up? How do you do that wrong?
You know how you do that wrong? You
Oh,
have her go and try to find a job, go through the process, go through the applying, and she's going to firsthand see how hard it is to get a bottom rung job. Um, it's not to say you need to know somebody to get a job, although we do know that referrals is the number one way of getting hired. So there's something to that. But it's also, you want to try to build a toolkit of skills. And what's great about this next generation is they have aptitude and agency. They do. I feel for them because, their headlines of AI is taking the jobs, and I'm not on this podcast to say that either. AI is not taking your jobs. AI is a very powerful tool to help humans. So wherever she can get that experience building is amazing. And I know you're a builder, so I don't know why she wouldn't come work for you.
yeah, I'd make her work for it though. You're gonna have to interview with HR.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool. One thing that's important to me as I'm choosing projects and what to work on is kind of this Buddhist idea of right livelihood. Like it's important for me to do things in a way that I guess is just acceptable to my own moral compass. And like hiring for sure and recruiting always seemed like a very interesting space, largely because it was so hard for me. It's very hard for me. Actually, early on, I kind of took myself out of the hiring process really early because I had the tendency to fall in love with everybody I'm talking to, and I can't make an unbiased decision. I'm like, oh, they're trying so hard, you know. And so I really think that this is an interesting place because it's a way with JobStream, it's a way to show kindness and opportunity for people that you're rejecting. And maybe I have a problem with that too. It's maybe not a problem, but a challenge with rejecting people. So how do you kind of like frame your work? Is there kind of does it feel morally satisfying?
So hiring it has just transformed so much. And at the center of it, what we need is a person to come and work for a business. So taking the entire human aspects out of it is really not what we're trying to do. We are using AI to like cut through the noise to get to the right people so that we can have those amazing conversations and fall in love with all the candidates. What I tell other founders or people who are just starting out to build their team, create a process. Like everyone's going to get interviewed the same way. Not every candidate has the same questions, right? But everybody's going to have to submit and go through the HR interview first, if you have HR, and pre-qualify before it gets to the CEO. I would say to you, Ryan, or anybody who falls in love with every candidate, spend more time on their references. Spend twice as much time. And I just kind of made it a rule. I want a minimum of 3 references. I do them myself. And I call a manager, I call a peer, and I call a subordinate or a client partner. This has saved me so many hours, time, money. I mean, having to go back to the drawing board each time, like I just get a real sense of who this candidate is because they know that I'm going to love them when I see them. They've already made it through. But getting that firsthand reference is crucial.
Yeah. Those are tough, isn't it? When you're following up with references and they're just like, I can confirm that they did work here. Yes. That's all I'm going to say. You're like, oh, okay, say less.
So I've learned as a founder, there's a lot of subtext in language and how you talk about your people. And, you asked how I approach it. Like our belief and my belief is that you cannot have a great company without great talent and the right talent that you need. So figure out, especially a founder has the privilege of building out this culture. What is the dream world I want to create for me and my team? Where do I want to be spending the majority of my time every day? It's an amazing opportunity to reset, do things right, and then there's also the rejection thing. But I mean, I always think as a kid, like you grow up in two kinds of families: the ones who wrote thank you notes and the ones who don't. And that is, I'm on the we write handwritten thank you notes side. So it's etiquette. It's also, I mentioned Bumble earlier, but they had a study that a not getting asked out for a second date is not as worse of a feeling as not hearing back from an interview. So that's worse. Like
Really?
getting rejected and ghosted is a worse emotional toll than not getting asked out on a second date. That's how I should have said
Wow.
that. But
I believe it,
it's
I believe it.
emotional.
Yeah. I've had interviews that I felt really good about, like, oh, this is happening. And then you don't get the job, or you have a terrible interview. You're like, I blew it. And then you get offered the job. There's so many variables. And maybe you could speak to that, because from your chair, you're seeing thousands and thousands of jobs. Now, for the recent college grads, let's say in America, what they're hearing is AI is going to take your job, like you said. They're also seeing that like the global workforce is being activated at massive scale. There's folks from South Africa to Nigeria to Mexico to the Philippines that are all willing to work American hours and are willing to work at a fraction of the cost. So, what is the good news, perhaps, about the job market for American grads right now?
So for American grads right now, I think they have an amazing opportunity being so already digitally savvy. And that can really help older organizations with that digital transformation. So I think they have this kind of like native, like I grew up with technology more so than millennials. So I think they have that as an advantage. If there is a student coming out of school and they have zero experience and they have this college degree and no experience, I would say you just have to find a job where you can learn
Yeah.
skills and learn something different. My first job, I was scooping ice cream and making sandwiches, and I learned how to make the perfect bite of that sandwich. And some people might thoughtlessly put a sandwich together and eat it. But, this is a skill. It started that. And then it was interacting with customers. And then it was, oh, okay, like this local community started to recognize me. I was their ice cream girl and I knew what flavor they wanted. And I started learning relationship skills and, of course, business as well. Would you like 2 scoops or 3? Okay, that'll
Yeah.
be $10 actually. So you learn through all kinds of jobs where you can get your hands on skills. And I think back to your daughter or anybody's daughter in this case, if you have a family business, I think it could be a really beautiful thing to create this multi-generational workforce. That I think that's nice. And then the other thing that I'm seeing creators, I haven't tried this myself, creators on Instagram talking about snatching up every kind of blue collar job and creating this conglomerate of services related jobs and streamlining the operations with a digital like center system. And like if I was looking for a plumbing business, I wouldn't just try to find one. I would try to find 10 within a 30-mile radius, and I would optimize the entire inner workings of the company. Like that, I think it would be a great business. We will never not need that.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's such great advice, for folks is like, shoot for the moon, but like settle for the dirt. Because when my daughter was 14, I pulled some strings with a buddy of mine who owns a couple of restaurants. It's like, she's 14, but she wants to work, so hire her. Boy, did they. She was bussing tables in a really busy restaurant till like midnight sometimes, and she'd get off and be like, Dad, it's really hard. It sucks. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I was like, having a job sometimes is about learning what you don't want to do so that you can go in the direction that you do. So she's studying finance.
Okay. Well, in finances, there are plenty of jobs in finance, and people will always need banking, and we will always need to manage money and wealth, and that can go in so many directions. Um, you know, I see in the media, it looks really stark for them. I think it was like 60% of college grads are unemployed from this year.
Yeah, crazy. Wish him the best. Okay, JobStream. How big is the team, and how did you finance this project? Is it independently financed? Was it kind of brought up under the parent organization?
So it was brought up under the parent organization. And about 6 months ago, we launched this innovation lab, and under the premise of how can we keep innovating for our existing clients. The number one thing that we hear that organizations are having is it's like the number one business challenge overall. It's really hard to hire the right people, or I can't hire the right people. And what they mean is like cost effectively, quickly enough, etc. On the second problem, it's how do I retain my great talent? And again, we see this in the headlines with the Meta talent war that's going on, and the hundreds of millions of dollars that is being thrown at top AI engineers. It's a real war on talent, and I think that's not changing. So we started thinking about how can we help our clients with every aspect of their talent, process. And there's a whole litany of problems. It's, you started out saying a tsunami of job applications. And I'd say probably the biggest risk today, and if I was a founder, I would check right away, is do you have cyber defenses in your hiring process? And sometimes we don't think of that. But right now, what's going on, the FBI sent out a public service announcement saying, you have to be careful for the cybersecurity IT hires. They are hacking every step of your hiring process. They are getting into your companies. They are in IT, learning your systems, taking your code, taking your money, and funneling it back to the regime in China as well. So hiring...
North Korea.
Okay.
North Korea. Yeah. It's so crazy.
I mean, hiring, if you don't have these safeguards in place, one of those bad actors could take out your whole company. So this is why we need to care about the hiring experience. And there's a few things like you can do that they sound like common sense, but when you're moving so fast, they get missed. And, every founder should be thinking this way, like putting those checks and balances in place.
Yeah, those were the big stories I was actually thinking about that I want to talk to you about. That North Korean spies are infiltrating companies with remote jobs and stealing everything. And then what's going on with Zuckerberg, where he's offering senior AI developers like NBA level contracts, $10 million signing bonuses. And like, it's pretty crazy. And I wonder if that's just symptomatic. I hate to get doom and gloom, or I hate to admit that I love to get doom and gloom, but it certainly seems like a part of what AI is going to bring is like a new super elite class that lives in some kind of like God mode while the rest of us have like really cool tools and delicious meals, served to us by robots. It's fascinating.
I really hope the world isn't going in that direction so far, but certainly there's cybersecurity risk, there's fraud, there's bad actors, there's just like it also is a national security issue. So one of our partners is close to helping with drones and creating these like drones in combat. What we discovered is they have an amazing community of top AI engineers, MIT, Harvard, everything. And, I think what you're also saying is like you really need good and trusted talent to run your company. And that's why Facebook is shelling out a lot of money.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
yeah,
Amazing. I'm ready for the founder challenge questions. Are you ready for the founder challenge questions, Katie?
I hope so. I hope they are not about my nicknames anymore.
No. And shout out to your husband. I felt like I was like talking about what's his name in college for way too long. We forgot about him a long time ago. All right, Smiley, here we go. We've got 4 categories to choose from, okay? We have tough and unfiltered. We have scandalous and risky. We have explosive and intriguing, and we have raw philosophy and self-reflection. What category would you like?
What was the first one? Let's do that one.
Tough and unfiltered? You got it. Okay. And this is brought to you by kitcaster.com. These are the founder challenge questions.
Okay.
So, what's the worst advice you've ever taken from a mentor or advisor?
The worst advice I've ever taken is to copy the way that that person did it. And this is when I was learning and, rising the ranks. And sometimes you're pressured to do what your boss tells you. And in some cases, yes, you should. In others, you were hired to do a job. And there is something that you know that they don't because you're on the inside of your job. And not only that, just have a core set of values. Like if it goes against your grain, don't do it. And if you say no, what is the worst that could happen? Likely it'll get reassigned or you figure out a way around it, find a compromise, negotiate it.
Love it. What part of your startup do you still feel like you're bullshitting through?
What am I bullshitting through? So the AI matching, it really works. The part that I can't control is how the algorithm keeps changing. So we need to stay on top of that. And, what are these AI sources? What changes are they making? And that's the unknown. Luckily, we're on top of it. We're keeping up with it. I think somebody the other day had said, wow, the matching is really good. It's like going to Indeed and looking for the job that you want. I was like, see, like that's it.
Yeah. That's cool. And is there a way to safeguard that or put guardrails on it by using multiple LLMs and like cross matching? What's the secret sauce without giving away the secret sauce?
I'm not going to give away the secret sauce, but of course we need guardrails. Yes, I want to start introducing layers and LLMs and different agents and different like fact checking things. I think what is the difference though is we're sitting on a network of data that is almost bigger than anywhere else. And that's our jobs network. That's our proprietary stream of job openings that are coming from actively promoting employers. That like the data element and this kind of understanding of the hiring cycles is, I think, what really differentiates us.
Yeah, cool. What's a metric you publicly celebrated but privately you knew was meaningless?
When we doubled our send rate, it got us much closer to product market fit. And we doubled it in a day. And at that time, the number was like we only had made 600 matches. And so it went from 300 to 600. But why that was so amazing was because it validated the technology and the product in that instance. Whereas like until we got to that point, we weren't able to have that percentage of success. So I was like, we doubled our business. And it was at the time only 600. So
I love it. But that's also, you got to celebrate the small wins because a win's a win,
That's right.
If I win $5 on a bet with my son, it's only $5, but it's worth so much more because it's a win.
Totally.
This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. Moburst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, Moburst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At Moburst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, Moburst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At Moburst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to Moburst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together. Nice. I had the pleasure to talk to amazing women that are founders, CEOs on this show. What's your experience been like as a woman and a founder?
So I feel like I had always reported into women, worked for some really high-powered career women. And, those were my role models. As a founder, it's totally different. And when I was running Tlivity, we built that marketplace I told you of a couple thousand HR technology companies. And I said, I want to do a dinner in New York City. And we've got tons of people in New York. And I found 5 people out of 2,000 who were women in New York. And then I dug into the data and was like, so how many women are founders of the companies that we're talking to? 2%. And then I started getting really interested in that number. Why is that? And I just think I hope the tide is turning, that, the women are now on more boards than ever. I think I've seen the most fundraising towards women-based companies over the past 2 years in venture capital. So I think it's changing. I think it's heading in the right direction. I think what is weird is being in a room full of men who've been used to being in a room full of men. And, I think at first I felt like the note taker, but that's not why I'm here. So I feel like I have to try harder than others to get my points across. The way I do that is I try to speak very much in terms of numbers, and that seems to help move the needle when I need to. But yeah, it's totally weird. I'd say what's different about the millennials, I'm a millennial, but like the majority of our mothers probably weren't in the workforce for as long. And I can say on like almost every single one of my friends is working with kids and balancing it all. And so it's just different.
Yeah, it is. And I think it is generational for sure. I mean, the boomers, it's still it was rare. But I mean, it's hard for me to have like a real gauge on it because I mean, I had co-founders that are women, clients that are women. Like it never struck me. But I'd like to ask that question because I'm curious if it might just be a preference. Like, how is it with your friends? Do you think women are just not interested in like founding companies as much? I mean, we're speaking broadly in generalizations here, I know, but it's interesting. What do you think?
Well, what I'm seeing with this next generation in particular is they're all very entrepreneurial and enterprising. And they're figuring out how to create revenue streams for themselves. And I'm not talking about they want to start a company. They're just learning independently. How can what is the skill and what's the thing that people want from me that I can sell? So I feel like I see more of that. And I think the creator economy, influencer economy is really helping create this new vertical of entrepreneurship. Do I think women don't want to? No, I think women do want to. I think it comes down to life, like the logistics of life, who's picking up our children at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Remote work has changed the game and for the better. I don't think I'd be in my seat if we didn't have a remote work policy. And, I love it so much. Our head of growth, she is a digital nomad. And I say, if the company's growing and she's everywhere, it can work. It doesn't work for all companies. For ours, it's doing okay. So, and that's why we created Anywhere August. So in August, we all, find our corner and pocket of the world and work remote. And it's something that we love to share.
So cool. And for any female potential founders that are listening, one great thing about founding your company is you get to decide when you pick up and drop off your kids. My wife and I operated a business that we owned for the entire time that our kids were growing up, and it was so wonderful for our family. It was just great.
It's an interesting dynamic.
A couple of questions here for you. This has been really cool. I love that you're out here doing podcast interviews, really putting yourself out into the world and putting the company on your shoulders. Why is founder-led marketing important to you?
Founder-led marketing, it's important because you need visibility, but I also want to connect with people who really have this problem with their hiring and know that they, have somebody who has got, the backings of a very deep understanding of how to fix the problem. And, I think, I don't know. I think I lost the question.
What was it
So
again?
founder-led marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think founder-led marketing is important because, you are the person who knows what the problems are the best, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you must have visibility to have a successful business. And not only that, what we're doing at JobStream and across the board at Hire Innovations is changing people's lives. We're helping people. I mean, I don't know, we cannot have our homes, our cars, do anything without a job and an income. So when you think about that, it's your livelihood. It's important for people to show up and be passionate if they are. And that's why I'm really excited to talk about our work. But, hiring is everywhere. On every level. The NFL is a hiring problem. And we're obsessed with it.
Totally. Hey, what are some red flags? If people are out there applying for jobs, what are some red flags that this job, this company, this is a bad fit for you?
So what I would look at is what is called an employer brand. And their employer brand is their brand, but what do the employees say about the company? And if founders don't know what an employer brand is, you have an amazing opportunity to be really good at it. And figuring out what are the values that and culture that you want in your company. You need to make sure you're marketing that and it's out for the world to see. So I would say red flags to look for, go to Reddit, go to Glassdoor, go to Indeed, go to Facebook. What are people saying who are inside the company about working there? What you can do if you get to the interview stage is ask, what's the tenor of these people? Why is the role open? Is it a new position or did someone leave? There are clues everywhere. So I think there's a lot of online discovery, and also for a brand, it's actually something you really need to manage. And it's this kind of debate. Is this sits with the marketing team? Does this sit with the HR team? It sits with the top, because if it's not coming from the founder who's overseeing HR, it's not going to happen. And bad brand reputation could have a real material cost on your bottom line, all because you ghosted a candidate in the wrong way.
Well, and founders, don't let the HR team merge with the marketing team. I had some guy telling me a way to do a LinkedIn hack for your brand page by posting fake jobs, because applicants have to like the page in order to submit an application. So they're like, yeah, you could get like 20,000 followers on your LinkedIn page. I'm like, dude, that's so dark. Don't do that to people. Make them apply for a job that doesn't exist so you can get LinkedIn likes, like what? All the things.
And absolutely. And people are doing that to mine data. and it's not right. And at JobStream, we actually don't work with LinkedIn. We don't work with Indeed. We're really kind of striving for a better experience because, candidates deserve that. It's hard to be a candidate. It's hard to hire the right people, but it is hard to be a job seeker right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are other signals to watch out for. Usually you can tell if they like expire and then get reposted.
Yeah, totally. Watch out for that. Okay, as we're coming to time, you've been so generous. I really appreciate it, Katie. This has been so
Yeah.
fun. If you could put anything on a billboard in Times Square, what would it be?
Okay. Can I have two things? I paid
Yes,
double.
you get two
Okay.
billboards.
Okay. Without having any politics as part of this, but it's make hiring human again.
Mm.
And I think that's just because we've gotten lost in technology. It has become so easy to one click apply to all the jobs that you see. And, for the reason that you just said, companies are using jobs as data collection. So there's a lot of, let's bring the human back. And then the second thing I would say is just because in my spare time, I'm a serial vibe coder, but anybody who's not thinking this way, it's a little bit meant to scare you, but automate yourself before AI automates you. And I loved you had a host on a few weeks ago, and it was like automate one process, feeling overwhelmed, automate one process every day. And that is
Yeah.
so true. And everyone should be learning, upskilling, becoming the master in their role with AI. AI is not going to replace you if you can own it.
Amazing. What are you vibe coding? Are you doing little projects or you doing like agent support and stuff for work?
Both. And I'd say one tip for founders is if you want to stay innovative, give your entire team a license to Lovable or Replit. My team loves Lovable, and so that's why we use that. But also our CEO and I like Replit as well. But Lovable makes it easy to bring those ideas into prototype stage without having to get your design resources, your engineers pulled off of the things that they're doing. And it also has just made communicating new ideas so much easier. And it's less of like a brief on a board. It's here's what it looks like. We should do this. That's been amazing. So that's what I'm always vibe coding. The things I'm vibe coding, I've got a litany of projects, but many are solving the same kind of problems and hiring. And this is also like a teaser for our roadmap, but like there's, companies, employees are kind of becoming more fractional, the gig economy. And something like 40% of people also have a second job. And it's very challenging for companies to manage this. And back to the cyber risk and fraud and compliance, companies don't really manage their contractors the same way they manage their employees. And why is that? It doesn't make any sense because in some ways they're still representative of your company. They still need to have the training. They still need to know who the brand is. So I'm vibe coding this product to help centralize that. And it connects HR people, managers, budgets, everything.
So cool. I love contractors too. They're so talented. They
Yeah.
it's a different mindset. It's a lot like a founder mindset. When you're a contractor, you're like, okay, my work is my client. So what are we going to do? I love it. We do live vibe coding on here sometimes, which is so fun. We'll just come up with an idea and prototype it and get an MVP, and we shoot for a half an hour. And I would really be interested in other founders. Please reach out to me on what kind of little side projects you're doing with vibe coding, because I found it to be, one, incredibly like creative and liberating, but also really helps you understand like what people want and how they're using different tools. I made this cool little app. I used agent mode for GPT to go scrape this website that has all these health and wellness providers here in Denver. So it's like acupuncturists, therapists, massage therapists, all these kind of people, their picture, their contact info, all that. And then I created this little app that was like vibe wellness. So you answer a little quiz about like what you're into, what you like, what modalities work for you. And then it matches you based on, the attributes of all these therapists. And it's like, and so I published it just to see like what would happen. And I think 300 clicks,
No.
So what I'm looking for now is like you put something like this into the world. It's going to have initial, hit for like people are hitting it. Maybe they're sharing it with their friend or whatever. But if and it dips, but if it has another resurgent again, this is a great kind of signal that like you have the smidgen of product market fit. Like you at least have found an audience that sees this as novel enough to engage with it. So, for founders like testing tools, like you really got to start vibe coding. And for me to just engage in something completely out of my sphere, wellness or whatever, it's just a fun little thing,
It sounds fun, but as you're talking, so this wellness revolution is also overtaking the workforce, and it's becoming a core retention tactic. So I feel like you've got a market, Ryan, where if you haven't already thought of this already, but going to employers and saying, hey, I've got this really cool wellness tool. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's going to help your employees find and connect to the resources that personally are meaningful to them. But I feel like you have something there.
I'm going to publish it exactly like that and report back to you to see what they say.
Okay.
Amazing. Katie, this has been so fun. Where can people connect with you online?
Connect with me on LinkedIn or check out higherinnovations.com is our holding company. Oh wait, I just joined TikTok.
Hey, all right. You gonna put some content out there?
Of course, I've been posting every day for the last week. See how it goes.
Yes, I'll find you on there.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks so much, Katie. Really appreciate it.
Ryan, thanks for having me.
Hey, founders, let me ask you this. Are you building with AI or getting left behind by it? If you're serious about scaling smarter, faster, and bolder, you need to check out aiforfounders.co. It's your go-to resource for cutting through the noise and actually using AI to grow your startup. Each week, AI for Founders drops a sharp, no-fluff newsletter, dives deep with expert guests on the podcast, and hosts monthly workshops where you can get your hands dirty with the real tools and strategies. Whether you're pre-seed or Series B and beyond, launching something new, or just staying sharp, AI for Founders gives you the edge you need to win in 2025 and beyond. Hit aiforfounders.co to subscribe to the newsletter, tune into the podcast, and grab your spot in the next workshop. And it's all free. Build smarter,